More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Bowden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Crumble for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carnham! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. No Jamie again this week, I'm afraid. Moving back to Cymru means he has to go through the citizenship test of reciting all the words to Tom Jones's song Delilah. But in a week when the driver of a southwestern railway train in England said he initially thought he was being pranked when he heard there was a crab sitting in first class. Railway officials said on social media that passengers on the London to Portsmouth train spotted a small crab sitting in its own seat in first class. On a recent SWR journey, one of our drivers, Mark, was approached by a polite customer who said, "Excuse me, driver, there's a live crab on the seat over there and it's been there since I got on at Guildford," the post said. Driver Mark Walsh said he initially thought someone was playing a joke on him, but he soon confirmed there was indeed a live crustacean commuter. Walsh escorted the crab off the train at Portsmouth and Southsea Station. Some people were quite concerned because I was walking around the station with a crab in my hand, but most people didn't bat an eyelid, Walsh told the BBC. The driver relocated the crab, which he named Craig, to a local pond. He said it remained a mystery how the crab managed to end up in a first-class seat. "I don't know if it fell out of a fisherman's bag or it could be some young people having a laugh. But what I can't understand is that it came from London," he said. They should have called him my co-host, to be honest. Through bitter experience, if anybody knows how to deal with unwanted crabs, it's Das!
Absolutely. Being a seasider, I know how to deal with all of that. I'm not going to.
You know very well that's not what I meant.
I'm not lowering my tone to your level, my friend. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Obviously, as we've said, no Jamie again this week, unfortunately. So, like Gresford Athletic that look at the bench and there sits Ronaldinho ready to come on, all flexing himself, second week in a row. Thank you and welcome from the Racecourse Ramble. Of course, it's Matt. Hello, mate.
Ronaldinho, I can't believe it. Yes, I'm here to lower the tone again. That's I can't believe you've asked me back.
Well, as I said, my brother isn't here, but he has left a message after what we said last week. So I've not watched this, so pray he doesn't swear too much because it's possible I'll have to put the beep machine. So, sent us a message, as I said. Hello, Jimbo.
Hello, you pair of bricks, and dear listeners. As you can guess, I am absent again this week in true flop red part-time podcast form. I am absent again. Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, I can't get it on tonight for a couple of reasons, but the main one being that my internet hasn't been installed in my new house yet. And trying to do the podcast record over sketchy 4G would be, nobody would enjoy that. The incredibly pixelated, laggy video that would inevitably follow. Nobody's going to enjoy that. But I just thought I'd say hello, and more importantly, just to acknowledge the fact that from the back of my videos last week, I know you guys made a couple of comments, as did Matt and a few listeners, about the fact that I was a little bit down, shall we say. I was indeed. Last week in particular was a very tough week for a lot of different reasons, which I'm not going to go into now. And although I'm still a long way from being back to normal, we're getting there slowly. So sorry I can't be with you tonight. I am okay. Thanks for the concern, but I am okay. And my predictions will follow later in the pod. But I'll very much look forward to catching you both live again next week, and hopefully with some super duper lightning quick internet, so there'll be no more lags, no more pixelations and things like that. So see you later.
You heard it here first.
He must be back in Cymru because there's no shit up the walls behind him. So yeah, there you go. No, he was very concerned. Obviously, as the caring brother that I am, I contacted him. I said, "Fuck's sake, cheer up, you miserable." No, I didn't really. No, I was very much kind of, listen, you need to make sure, are you all right, and all the usual stuff. And he said, yeah, I'm fine. He said, it's just a long week and very stressful and everything. So he's fine, everybody. He's absolutely fine. I am keeping an eye on him, and he will be back next week, unless, of course, Matt does another sterling job, and then we'll just vote him out, and he can go on Fearless in Devotion. They're rubbish. You can go and do them. Just first thing I want to talk about tonight, which I thought was this is a brilliant move. Cymru will take part in a powerful and emotional moment of unity at Wembley Stadium this month as the players walk out side by side with fans living with dementia ahead of the international friendly against England, according to the FAW website. In a landmark initiative delivered by the Alzheimer's Society and the Football Association, supported by the Football Association of Wales, 22 fans living with dementia, nominated from across Wales and England, will walk out alongside the players in place of the traditional child mascots. The mascots will join both squads for the national anthem to call on fans across the UK to help end the devastation of dementia by donating, campaigning, or seeking support for themselves or loved ones affected. During the second half of the match, Cymru players will return to the pitch without their names on their backs of their shirts, a symbolic act highlighting memory loss, one of the most common symptoms of dementia. This powerful gesture mirrors similar campaigns by England in previous Alzheimer's Society internationals and will see both sides united in raising awareness of the condition. Daz, I mean, it's going to be a great spectacle anyway, which we'll talk about next week because that's on next week's pod. I don't want to put Matt in the position of having to support England. That's basically what it is. I'm being nice for you there, Matt. But this is a fantastic gesture, isn't it? I mean, what a great way to raise awareness of something that is such a massively debilitating disease.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you often think, like, sometimes when organizations like this get behind a movement, behind a cause, behind a particular effort like this, sometimes it feels hollow. Sometimes you just don't feel that, but it feels something quite poignant about that. And to be able to sort of invest in it with the removal of the names on the shirts and things like that, they're very specific and very clear gestures. And as much as they are a gesture then there's no solution here. We're not solving the problem, but but an awareness is the first step to a lot of this. And a lot of people live with this situation, or with family or loved ones that deal with this situation, and it can be really, really hard. And having had a neighbour for many years who dealt with that, it can be very, very different, and they're not the same people that you recall. And so it's more prevalent, and it's more and I think it's something that it's really positive to see. I guess both football associations as well doing their bit for such a worthy cause. So yeah, no, it'll be very powerful, I'm sure.
I mean, Matt, we can make grand gestures at times like this, and what a fantastic platform to do it at Wembley. Two great rivals playing a football match. Brilliant for the spectacle, but it's what it does to affect the individual and the families. I mean, the latest statistic says that by the year 2030, 1 in 3 people in the UK will suffer from dementia. Will not be affected by it with a family member. Will suffer from it. I mean, it is a massively terrible disease because it rips away your personality. I mean, my 9 Denman had it. And I remember distinctly as a child seeing this woman who was the strong matriarch of the family disintegrate before my eyes over a very short period of time, to a point where she didn't know who anybody was, couldn't function as a person. She was a complete shadow of the person that I remember. And that's why I think that things like this and other things that keep the attention on this are vitally important, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm luckier than you. I've not had any family members suffer from it, but I've got friends who've got family members who suffered from it, and so it's really important to keep it alive for people. To make sure we're all aware of it, and I think that the thing that I'm conscious of is that we don't do it for the sake of it. If this is something that we're going to do, we have to do it because we mean it, and we're going to support it regularly, because those are frightening statistics, aren't they? That this is something that will be, it will feel like the next pandemic, I guess. Well, it might be those sort of levels, mightn't it? If that's accurate and it comes out, so it's really important to raise awareness. But I am avid that we can't just say it. We've got to live it and do it and keep doing it. Can't just be a once a year thing. For me personally, I'd like to see us do it a little bit more. And when I say us, I mean, using sport as a vehicle. I know other people can do it as well, but I think, in football, I think it's important.
So Saturday saw us back at the Stoke Kairos, this time to take on Derby County in the next game of the EFL Championship. Let's look at the lineup to start with. Only one change from the last league game versus Norwich City the week before, with Brunt coming on at the back for Doyle. Matt, when Doyle was kind of signed, he was kind of seen as this wonder kid, was going to be this, fresh, new left side of the back three, and he had some matches, and now he's been replaced by Brunt, who some people have questioned, saying, is he really good enough for the standard? I mean, are you surprised that kind of Brunt has now started to be selected in front of Doyle?
Yeah, I think what would help me understand at the moment, I don't really understand why Doyle was taken off at half time against Norwich. So there's been, I haven't seen anything which absolutely clarifies whether he had a knock, an injury, whether Parky thought he was underperforming, whether he truly was just worried about a yellow card. But if he was only worried about a yellow card, you think he would put him back in the next game, which he clearly didn't, did he? So that makes me so we've got this sort of underlying question there. I am surprised because obviously he came with a very high reputation, lots of experience, and a price tag that's not his fault. But obviously, he's got good pedigree. And so I think it's fascinating at the moment that he can't quite claim that spot back, especially as we'll come on to later. Although Brunt's having good moments, he's also giving opposition moments at the other end.
Yeah, it is an issue from that point of view. So quite an even game in the general scheme of things, with two sides I thought which were very, very closely matched. Few chances from both sides, which was quite disappointing and a little bit frustrating sitting there watching, as I'm sure Matt will tell us in a minute. Aguimang nearly scored on 12 seconds. So literally from the kickoff, they jumped straight on us and nearly scored, which is a bit scary. Daz, I would imagine you've seen the highlights. So I would imagine you've seen this. Lewis O'Brien, very, very lucky not to be shown a red card early on for a tackle on Adams. I mean, he was given a yellow. Do you think that's right, or do you think it was a red?
My first instinct was, it was a bit worrying. The more I saw it, the more I think probably yellow was correct. But we've seen them given, and the whole argument of it's quite early on in the game and all of that kind of thing can often come in this stage. But I don't know. I think the way that his foot turns away, I think. It was a bad tackle, and that's why it's a yellow. Whether there was malice, whether it was uncontrolled, whether it was dangerous, I suppose that's the last remaining category where it was. I mean, any tackle can be dangerous, but I didn't see it as being so reckless. But he is very lucky because there are plenty of refs that would have given it. And of course, you saw the reaction of all the other players, but particularly the Derby players that they were particularly horrified by it. But I think in the heat of the moment, when you see it at full speed, you can see why they were worried about it, and I can see why. And it kind of reinforces why I think any ref could have given it, but I think it was the right decision, but it would only need a replay to be sure of that. I don't think in the moment you could have been sure of that.
Well, Matt, you did your fantastic breakdown, as you always do. And if you have not gone to find it, go on Patreon, go and support Matt and the Racecourse Ramble. Trust me, it's worth it just for the breakdowns alone, because if you're not sure about football, or you want to look at a little bit more minutiae into the game itself, nobody else does that on the internet apart from Matt. So it's worth it just for that alone. And you had a few things to say at the time, which I'll let you repeat on this platform here. I mean, it was interesting. I went back. Do you remember George Evans got red carded in almost exactly the same place? I think it was maybe a couple of seasons ago, last season. And I went back and I found that. I think it was 2 seasons ago. I went back and looked at that, and that tackle wasn't as bad for me.
Yeah.
And he got red carded. He got straight red. I mean, with a bit of afterthought now, you've done the breakdown. Yellow fair, or do you think he was very, very fortunate?
I'll respectfully disagree with Daz. I thought we were very lucky. I think it's in modern day football. I'm amazed that it wasn't a red card, because you don't have to do much anymore, do you? And you're getting cards. I don't think Lewis. This is cliche. I don't think Lewis O'Brien is that type of player of what we've seen so far. But a referee doesn't know that, do they? And like Daz says, obviously the opposition always arms up, running to the ref, aren't they? Trying to get a player sent off. But I thought he definitely caught him on that ankle late. When in real time, I thought, oh, he's in trouble. And then a minute or two later, the replay started to go round on people's mobile phones in the tech end. And there was sort of, that draw of breath through teeth as people were watching it around me. So I thought we were really, really lucky for him to stay on the pitch.
I sit 20 foot away from the opposition fans, and they were furious. They were absolutely furious that it wasn't a red card.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. It's not a good tackle, but I've seen plenty of not good tackles get away with no cards at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Contact doesn't mean red card. I think that's my issue with quite a few, and it's probably it sort of varies in all the divisions. But the number of times I see a tackle, and immediately the players are looking for a yellow card when actually it's just a foul. There's that. It's always been elevated, and there's this sort of migration up towards any contact is now a yellow, and then bad contact is a red. But there's something to me about, I don't know, say the situation, the moment, whether it was controlled, uncontrolled, whether it was studs up, whether it was absolutely reckless or whatever. But yeah, he doesn't get the ball, and that's why it's a yellow. I feel that it's unquestionably a card. But no, I get your point though. That's what I'm saying. I think he's lucky, and I'm surprised that they say there are plenty of other refs who would have given it. But with the hindsight of, say, a VAR, if that was in another division and you go, right, go and have a look at the screen, I'm not sure he still would have overturned it. I still don't think they would have given it the red, but they might have done.
I mean, on my list, Matt, of notes, it just says in massive big red letters, the ref was appalling. And he was appalling for both sides. He was appalling. He was inconsistent. He kept stopping the game instead of letting it flow, which is the one thing. Because my wife's a trained referee, and whenever she watches stuff like this, she watched the highlights, and she said it's the one thing you're taught as a referee. You penalise where you need to penalise, but the most important thing is to keep the game flowing, keep the game moving. He didn't. He constantly broke up every phase of play. He constantly broke up the rhythm. I mean, we've seen worse refs, but he was particularly bad. Do you think, Matt?
Yeah, it was very frustrating. I thought, obviously, Derby fans were on him after that. After not getting the red card, they were on him, weren't they? And they booed him off at half time. He ran out of the tunnel for the second half because he didn't want to be near him, because obviously you come out near the away fans, don't you? So he ran out the tunnel, I noticed, when he emerged. And then, I don't know, maybe this is some home bias, but I felt he definitely tried to even it up in the second half, and we got a lot of decisions against us, and lots of phases of play were broken up. where just for silly little things that were barely even touches or fouls. So I think he looked to me like he was influenced by those Derby fans. But yeah, very frustrating. But we know what refereeing standards are like in this country. I've got lots that I could say about the standards of ref, and everybody could. I know that, but I think the refereing's got worse under Howard Webb. I'm
You don't
I'm
get
amazed
fined.
at
You
that.
know that, don't you? You don't get fined, Matt. You know that, don't you? If you can say stuff
I
about
know.
stuff about the ref,
I know.
we don't fine
But
you or anything. So that's,
I'm amazed that Howard Webb is still in a role at the PGMOL
yeah, I know.
because of how bad it's got.
I agree. I totally agree. Wrexham had some speculative chances in the first half. Nothing truly threatening, though. We could talk about this guy, Matt, for this game or the Leicester game, but I'm going to use this one because even there's other things to talk about in the Leicester game. How much of a difference has Kabore made on that right wing?
Yeah, a lot. We've got a genuine threat based on pretty much on pace, which we've not really had before. We've got quick players, but we haven't got elite level pace in our side. I don't think. Where he's the closest thing we've got to it. He's unplayable when he's on it, isn't he? Even like you say, even Leicester sort of struggled with him at times, and that tells you a lot. But my concern is I don't want us to become over reliant on just using that right side all the time, because you can plan to deal with that, can't you? So I'm hopeful that we will remain balanced in our attack. But I thought he had a really, really good game. He picked up a song, which was always nice to get us. We've got other players who've been here longer and haven't got a song yet, so he's got a
Absolutely,
song.
yeah.
I was really worried when he went off, obviously with a knock, but I think they just used the knock as an experience, as an excuse to probably sub him when they were roughly going to sub him anyway. I think is my gut feeling, because obviously he did emerge for the game against Leicester, but no, genuine threat with his pace. The quality of his ball is really good. He got 3 assists now, I think, already. Yep. And the ball for O'Brien, ironic, obviously, that Lewis O'Brien gets the goal without stealing your thunder.
No.
But the quality of the ball was just like, that was top draw, that cross.
Absolutely. Well, there was very little else in the first half. Windass had a free kick on the edge of the box, but he wasn't even close. I mean, it's possible, Daz, I don't know whether you've seen the picture of Windass's foot, which was taken apparently on Saturday after the match, absolutely bruised and battered, to say the least. I mean, the fact that he played on that on Tuesday is a miracle, to be honest. I mean, no wonder that he didn't...
bruising that he got during that game against Derby.
Well, the photograph that went out, which and you said, Matt, on your pod, you think there might be some ligament damage in there as well, because it was absolutely black and blue, wasn't it?
Swollen and black, yeah.
And apparently his mum had said, "Oh well, this was taken after the match on Saturday, even though it didn't come out until after the match on Tuesday." So the fact that he managed to play on Tuesday as well is not, because lots of people were saying to me around me, "Oh, what's the matter with Windass? He doesn't seem to be. He's not kind of as sharp as he has been." I'm not surprised if he's carrying that, because it's a miracle, to be honest. He was on it at all, but he had the free kick, but didn't hit that on target. Second half, very similar to the first, with Wrexham threatening from the wings. Windass with the shot, which forced a save from the keeper, so at least he was on target. Windass with a long cross over the box, forced a clearance from Johnstone onto his own post. So I don't know what Johnstone, obviously by the looks of it, Matt, Johnstone had got on the wrong side of his player and was facing the wrong way and decided, well, I'm just going to try and clear it.
Lost his bearings, I think. Yeah,
absolutely, and then nearly cleared it into his own goal, which would have been an absolute disaster for them. And then straight after that, the other end, Okonkwo having to pull off 2 point-blank saves to keep them out. Daz, there has been some criticism by Wrexham fans of Okonkwo in the past. Some still doubt whether he is the finished article, which we're not saying he is. He's still very, very young. He's 22. He's still learning his trade. But some people are saying, well, when Danny Ward was there, Danny Ward was the person that should be number one. Some people were saying, well, maybe Callum Burton should be number one. I mean, but you saw those saves that he pulled off. It shows, doesn't it, how good a shot stopper Okonkwo really is.
Yeah, we've said it many times that's his actual, that's his main quality attribute. The size helps. Obviously, he's got the reach, he's got range, he's got great reflexes though, and that ability to react and to fully respond to shots and stuff like that. Like I say, it's the other parts of that game, whether it's distribution, whether it's positioning. But when you need to call upon somebody in those moments, that's brilliant. So it kind of feels like, we need to look at what the defense are doing to stop them getting into situations where that Okonkwo is not being called upon. The shots aren't going to be coming in. So yeah, I think you've got at least there's your second choice goalkeeper is not bad. I suppose I think ultimately that's what I'm saying. Danny Ward, we know his quality. I'm a big fan. You know that. But to be able to have a Okonkwo come through, be your now first choice for what looks like the long term, is reassuring that he's still good. I wonder still those injuries. I think we're going to repeat ourselves a little bit there, but the injuries we know might play on his mind and stuff like that, and that might make some decisions like coming out, punching, getting under pressure from players. But when the ball is literally 6 yards out and it's coming straight at you, it's great to have that kind of reflex and that kind of shot stopping capacity in your goal mouth.
Well, two sides traded blows with very little, going in the goal until 59 minutes. You alluded to it earlier, Matt. One moment of brilliance on the right wing and away we go.
Yeah, it was a lovely move, actually, wasn't it? It was a really good goal, a good footballing move, with Kabore obviously galloping down that right flank. But it's just, there's two elements to that goal that I really, really like. It was the quality of the ball, because how often do you watch a winger? I know you can argue a winger or a wing back, but how often do you see a wide player frustrate you with inconsistent delivery? So the quality of the ball was excellent. And just Lewis O'Brien is such a good power runner. The powerful run and the fact he just glances that header home. He controlled it, didn't he? It wasn't a thump. It was just a controlled glance. He knew what he was doing. And we won't talk about the dance that he did afterwards. I'm not sure. I think that's. I'm not. I don't know. I was hoping you were going to recreate it. Actually, I don't know what was going on.
I love it.
Am I missing out on a meme there somewhere? I don't know. But no, I mean, it was a beautiful footballing goal. It was a bit of parky ball.
And much to the annoyance of Derby County fans, because of course O'Brien was at Nottingham Forest, the mortal enemies of Derby County, and they absolutely hated it, to say the least. And
I do wonder as well, though. I don't know if it's just my interpretation of it, but Kiefer Moore's run to the far post, though, makes the space for me in watching that.
Agree.
When you've got great crossing and you've got a big man, the obvious maths is one to the other makes goal. You know what I mean? So your defenders are keeping an eye on the big man, but so because he's drifting out to the far post, he's got one defender right on him. But I also think the other defender is kind of centralized himself, and of course, like you said, the power runner O'Brien then filling that gap. He's got to change his direction, and he's nowhere near O'Brien. He's much bigger. I mean, O'Brien's not the tallest of the players in your squad. So just to be able to draw a bit more attention, I thought it just added to the space and made that even more special, I think.
Matt, were you kind of hopeful at that point, thinking, right, we can kick on here now and really kind of put the boot to the throat, or did you feel that Wrexham might try and sit back and protect the 1-0 lead?
So I thought we were going to sit back because I'm in the minority. I was a little bit not disappointed. I was just a little bit underwhelmed with how attacking we were in that game. I was hoping to see us replicate how we treated the Norwich away game, where we went and we pressed them high and we won the ball back and we disrupted their rhythm. And I wanted us to do that to a team in equally as poor form, basically, or certainly in similar sort of confidence levels in Derby, especially us being at home. And we didn't do that. We sat back and allowed them to come at us, and I was a bit confused by that, to be honest. But obviously, Phil Parkinson must have his reasons for that. So I was a little bit like, obviously we were hopeful, weren't we, that we'd go and get another one, but I don't think we'd seen too much evidence prior to say, oh, we're going to be swashbuckling for the next 10, 15 minutes and we're going to keep going at them. Because when I left the game at the end, the overriding memories I had were of the two saves that Arthur made, and I couldn't barely remember us having another shot. So that's why I was a little bit down on it afterwards.
Well, it's a question I've got for later, but I think it's appropriate to put it in now. Seems to me, and please tell me if you think I'm wrong, but there seems to be a definite difference between how we behave away and how we behave at home. And it's a complete reversal as we've had over the last couple of seasons, where at home we've always seemed quite dominant and aggressive, and away we've seemed quite passive. And now away we seem a lot more aggressive, and at home, ironically, I find we're a little bit too passive. I mean, is that something that you have seen as well, Matt, or am I just making it up?
Yeah, I don't think we were quite as aggressive last. What day are we on? Against Leicester. I've lost track of my days. I didn't think we were quite as aggressive against Leicester, but there was a reason for that, i.e., the pace that they have compared to Norwich, for instance. So there's method in his madness there. But I was just really hopeful we were going to see that high press again. But I don't think you're mad. But I think we need a bigger sample size away from home to understand whether, because like against Millwall, I don't think we necessarily were aggressive in our high press, but we still obviously came away with the victory. So results are definitely better away from home. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing that pattern definite yet, but we'll learn more over the next. Well, by the time we've come back from Stoke away, we'll know a little bit more.
Definitely. Well, unfortunately, Wrexham didn't manage to hang on to the lead. 72 minutes. Agyemang on the Wrexham right wing managed to flick the ball to Brereton Diaz, who basically shrugged off Brunt and hit an absolute beautiful worldy corner, curling shot into the top corner. Smashed it, and Derby County drew level. I mean, Daz, can anybody be blamed for that goal? I mean, obviously, defence can be blamed for that goal, but I mean, that was a moment of brilliance, though, wasn't it? Really.
I mean, the strike is exceptional. Absolutely, the strike is exceptional, and it starts way outside the right post, and it's coming right round. So you're outside the he's 25 yards out. He's absolutely maximized the curve of that coming round Okonkwo and into that inside the post. Should he have had the time to get the shot away? Should he have had that space? That's probably where the analysis starts and ends, in a sense, because once that shot's taken, there's no blame or anything on Okonkwo. I don't think his starting position is particularly bad. I think it takes an absolute worldie to beat the parameters of what is the available goal space that he's got to aim at, and he's just got it pinpoint. So let's go back to saying, should the defense have done better? I mean, yes, there was the flick on was unexpected. Maybe it was I don't know their winger, or was it the number 7?
Agyemang. It was Agyemang who did the flick on. Agyemang, sorry, yes.
So he didn't try and take the ball down. He didn't try to sort of take. It was a very quick flick on. It caught everybody off guard. Suddenly there's space around. So you've got to give him credit for a well worked goal. But the finish was exceptional.
Not one to take away from because as I say, you've done the breakdown, Matt. But the defence was way out of position for this goal, weren't they? They were nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, well, we've gone through a week where a couple of times a defender has been dragged out of position by a bit of good forward movement and trying to be on the front foot, and that's left problems behind them. And in this case, obviously, I think it was Max who comes out and doesn't win the ball, I think, up against Agyemang. And then Brunt obviously gets nutmegged, actually, from memory, by Brereton Diaz. So we have a little chance to try and stop him getting the shot. So if you to ask them, they'll be disappointed. So it's not us being critical. If you ask them, they'll say, "I think I should have done a bit better." But like Daz said, I didn't realise till last night. I think it was somebody had told me that they'd seen a little bit of criticism of Arthur for that goal. I'm like, you could have had two Arthurs in that goal. You're never going to save that shot.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, I was right behind it. And it was in all the way. It was just, it never left it sort of arrowed like to that top corner. So I thought Daz explained it perfectly, really, for me, that I don't think anybody in the world saves that shot. But they'll just be a little bit annoyed with the couple of bits that were before it, I think, if you ask them.
So the game finished 1-1 with a 1-1 draw. I was a little bit disappointed at the end, I have to be honest, because I thought Derby were there for the taking. They weren't anything special. And I think, Matt, that's the bit that I need to remember, and I think other Wrexham fans need to remember. We're now taking on the big powerhouses of English football. I mean, I've been a fan of Derby County ever since I was a kid because they were managed by Brian Clough in the 70s, and they were then at the old baseball ground, and it took them to my heart at that point because I thought, they were Division 1. They were, they won the championship. I think it was 72, I think, or something like that, with Cloughie in charge. And there was a big hoo-ha afterwards because basically Cloughie put that. They were languishing in the depths of Division 2 with nothing going for them. Cloughie came in, completely turned them around, did a bit of a parky, to be honest. He rebuilt in a very short space of time the squad and pushed them up the league to become champions. So I've always had quite a soft spot for Derby County. Having said that, their fans were they weren't very good. They weren't very good from a supporting point of view. I don't know about you, Matt, but they seemed quite quiet to me, even the fact they were 20 foot away. But we have to remember that we have stood toe-to-toe with a team like Derby County, and we have at least matched them. And that's something that we've got to remember, isn't it?
Yeah, I understand I felt similar when I came out of the game because I was just disappointed. I think I wrote on Twitter, I didn't think we'd done enough to win the game, so I thought it was a fair result. I didn't think in the final third we troubled their goalkeeper hardly at all. So that was what disappointed me, especially at home. And this league, we're going to need to win our home game. So I'm desperate for us to beat teams who were, I think they 22nd or something at the start of the day. Yeah. I've lost track of where they were, but they were roughly there. And I was amazed, I need to point out, that they started with basically 4 forwards on the pitch. Pre-match, when the team came out, I almost fell over, and I was going on all the sites trying to figure out what formation of this. Well, we were together, actually, weren't we? We were in the My Squid. We were trying to work out how are they playing, what formation are they playing. I think the earliest one had Adjamang at left wing back, and I was saying to you, he's not going to be playing left wing back.
No.
So they played a 4-4-2 with Brayton Diaz, who really is a forward player, and Andy Vyman, who is a wide forward, so he's more comfortable in that wide right position. And yet, they had all that attacking intent. I thought that was really brave of them to come to the racecourse and do that. I was disappointed too, and I there for the take. We just didn't do enough. I thought that was a game we could have won. But we just didn't do enough. And I think Phil Parkinson said as much in his interviews today.
So Sunday, we all pitched up and moved over to the Globe in Buckley to see Wrexham Women take on Pontypridd United Women. Line-up, 2 changes. Lovett in for Davis and Idenden in for Suckley. Hey. And before you say anything, Tim and the Fearless in Devotion has the same problem. You look at him this week, he can't say a name either. So everybody online, stop having a go at me about it. It's not just me, it's other people. But no, I mean, Daz, Idenden starting. First time she started this season.
Yeah.
The
Good.
right move for you?
Yeah, totally. I think she's earned her place. I mean, not that you asked me this before. Should she have started? I'm amazed that she'd lost her place in some way, but it was just through the process of buying and improving the team. Some of that quality that they brought in is in that central position. Whether it's a midfield or a further up as a second striker or whatever. So. Yes, I think with her recent results, or certainly her performances coming off the bench, certainly earned the right to be in the starting lineup, and proved to be a wise choice. But we're big fans. We know she's good, and the fact that club's most valuable player last season, it's a pretty safe change to make. Let's put it that way. You're improving with improvement.
It was just nice to see. So Wrexham were, Pontypridd, we've seen in the matches so far, they've managed to do very little against opposition. All the teams basically. I think the goal they scored on Sunday was their first goal they've scored this season, or something like that. I mean, it's that bad for them.
Who scored? Which with their goal?
Yeah, well,
they
we scored for them.
Well, yes, sorry, yes. The goal we gave them is the first goal they
Yeah.
scored. I know. You say tomato, I say fuck off.
Oh no, okay, no. I tell you what, no, they did score. They did score, actually, didn't they? They did score at the other end. That's all.
Yes, they did. That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, at the other end, exactly. Yes, but you know they are really in, and don't blow your gun too fast, Daz, because I'm going to ask you at the end what Ponty you've got to look forward to. So we'll go over that one at the end. But Wrexham were very, very dominant to begin with, applying pressure early. 11 minutes, Snape with a corner. I mean, Matt, you were there. We saw it last week. Snape's corners are incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, that left foot is a weapon. And anything down the right side from a set piece perspective, i.e. corners, free kicks, we need to be utilising that because she can deliver accurately with pace. She can vary the height. And if you're in swinging I love in swinging crosses. I go on about this all the time on breakdowns. I'm sorry to bore you again, but I'm just not a fan of. Daz is laughing. I'm not a fan of outswinging set pieces, Daz. I don't. If nobody connects with an outswinging set piece, it's never on target. How often now and again? Well, I say how often. It's not that often, but how regularly do we see in swinging set pieces that don't get a touch and they go straight in the goal? So I'm a big advocate of in swinging set pieces. So I was delighted to see. I thought she had a good game again as well, all round, but that delivery to the front post caused chaos, and we couldn't tell who had scored it exactly because it was just a mangle of bodies at the front post. But they classed it as an own goal, so we'll go with that.
We'll definitely take it. Well, I say 12 minutes. 11 minutes. Snape then with the corner turned in by Marshall for Pontypridd for an own goal officially. But then 12 minutes, Leicester hit the post from a long range shot for Pontypridd when Wrexham didn't deal with the long ball. So Wrexham were warned. And only 5 minutes later, then Mahmood forces a save from the Ponty keeper. Again, she was in the Adram Premier Team of the Week for the second week in a row, and she's now I think she's top
the Ponty
goal
goalkeeper.
scorer.
Who the Ponty goalkeeper's in there?
No. Mas Mahmood. Mas Mahmood was in the Team of the Week. I think she's top goal scorer as well as in the Premier League at the moment. 20 minutes. Both Barker and Lily Jones came close, and we're kind of thinking, well, this is great. Wrexham are doing really, really well. And then on 21 minutes, Q-Daz.
So I don't get to talk about all the good bits they were doing, okay, right. No, I mean it's a classic case of confusion. The defender doesn't know whether it's to just deal with it. The goalkeeper's thinking, right, well, it's my job to just clear the ball, and the conviction that's needed to do that means just get out of my way. Big shout, I'm taking the situation on, and just get out of my way. And neither happened. So the pressure from the striker meant that a decision had to be made. He couldn't pick it up because of the back pass. So all of these things, and you just got that classic situation of Lizzie Craven kicking the ball straight into the defender, and it bounces into the goal for an own goal. I mean, it's a blemish on what was otherwise, a reasonably decent performance around. I think Pontypridd had their chances, and then in the early part, I mean, you've skipped to sort of like 20 odd minutes, but they were what I could see in the highlight. They held their own to a level. I think you could see that where the strengths and the weaknesses were, and it was fairly safe to say that Wrexham were going to be the more dominant side. But they surprised me with the number of opportunities that they seem to have made for themselves, and also hitting the bar. They could have been more goals in it. But that said, they get this break then with the own goal, and it does. Of course, that's going to affect the defense, affect the goalkeeper. I mean, Craven feels like a confidence player that if you an opportunity, a moment like this is going to be quite difficult, and you've got to be careful that you don't let it get in your head and just look, moment's done, mistakes made. Bit of I couldn't work out the reaction between her and the defender about whether or not they just, normally I'd like to see them go, look, that was a bit rubbish, wasn't it? Sorry about that. But I don't know, they felt like that was your fault. And I was a bit concerned that there might have been something then underpinning that. But fortunately, the team as a whole managed to forget about it, moved the team forwards, and then became pretty dominant, didn't they?
Matt, you were there, so 2 questions for you. One, did you hear a shout? Did you hear anybody shouting, mine, leave it, anything like that?
Oh, don't shout mine. Oh, controversial. Don't shout mine. No, because I was in I was going to call it a shed. The stand that we were in had the Wrexham Ultras in it, who were extremely loud for most of the game. So sometimes you couldn't hear that. And Eric Allen and Kelleen Allen were there, by the way, watching. And I saw Eric this morning at the Turf Putty van. So he said he loved that game, by the way. He really enjoyed going to see the women play.
Brilliant.
So, no, I didn't hear anything. To be honest, you might have heard me shouting, don't let the ball bounce, because it's a bugbear of mine. Yes. I'm old school. Yeah. I'm very old school, and I'm not for letting balls bounce, because only bad things seem to happen if you let a ball bounce, don't it? So I was probably me bellowing that we didn't deal with it properly, and as soon as that happened, obviously bad things happened. So no, there was no shout. But what's part 2?
Well, I'm going to ask the question. This now is the 3rd match that we've seen where there has been a gift to the opposition by Wrexham, by the defence, by goalkeeping errors. Yeah. Is this becoming, I know Daz talked just then about not letting it get in your head, but is this now becoming a problem? Because now the jitters are there, where there's, when the ball comes this way in the future, particularly if we're against a Swansea or a Cardiff who are stronger up front, is this going to start to become a problem, the lack of confidence in the abilities of the defence and the goalkeeper?
Yeah, it will be a slight issue until they go a couple of games without it being an issue. So they'll have to have a couple of what I would refer to as a clean game, where if somebody scores past you, it's a good goal and you've not helped them. So it probably will be in the back of some people's minds until they go a couple of games without.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, not casting any, because you like you said, you've been a goalkeeper. It's incredibly difficult being a goalkeeper because you make one mistake and it's going to be a goal. Whereas other players on the pitch can make a mistake and they can get away with it. So it's a massive problem. But
what's pitch quality like? Because it looked. Oh, so go on.
What was the pitch quality?
Sorry, I was just going to say, you were absolutely right with how you said it should have been dealt with. I think you've explained it better than I did on the video. Because actually what I said when I did my breakdown video was, like, it amazes me how often people try and kick a football through a human being. Like, that doesn't work, does it? There is nowhere for the ball to go. So in the video, I said it had to go out. And if you were going to kick it, you probably had to kick it at an angle, at 45 degrees away, so that if it did deflect, it probably was unlikely to go straight back in your own goal. So I think your reasoning supersedes mine. I think in the fact that she probably should have just, there should have been better communication. I think was your thing. Sorry to interrupt you there, Dad.
No. The pitch did look a bit bobbly, didn't it? I mean, how bad was it, Matt? Is the question.
So it's a grass surface. I don't. Hopefully, you could tell that from the TV coverage, because you can't always tell sometimes if they're really good. And I mean, to you or I, if we were playing on it, you'd go, "Oh, this is a really good pitch." But if you're used to either playing on the race course or on a Astro pitch, which are much flatter, aren't they? There's barely a wrinkle on them. Then this would be. It would take a little bit of getting used to. But as a general rule, you'd get a feel for that before the game in the warm-up, don't you? When you're just doing passing drills and stuff, you kind of get an understanding that this could, this is going to take a bit of getting used to today. But even Jenny Sugarman, I think she referred to it afterwards in her interview from memory. So it would have been a little bit of adjustment for them.
Well, luckily, the Wrexham women didn't let it stay in their mind for very long because 2 minutes later, Wrexham struck straight back. Another Wrexham corner by Snape curled in, put in the net by Idenden, which was fantastic. 44 minutes, fantastic moment of skill from Barker. She completely beats the defence in a foot race, rounds the keeper and slots it in. Matt, we said last week Barker was a little bit off because we feel, and you pointed out brilliantly, saying, well, maybe she wasn't in the position that we've seen her where we feel she's more comfortable. On Barker Watch this week, as you may or may not have been, she did seem a bit more confident and a bit more comfortable this week.
She was just more involved for me. I thought she was very isolated. I don't know if perhaps I didn't articulate it very well last week. She was very isolated, pushed out much further wide, whereas she was in 10 or 15 yards inside her and Maz on the other side. So I thought she was involved more. She could have had another goal or two from memory, at least. And it was a lovely moment. Sorry to repeat it, but her granddad had come down to watch her play. So after she scored that goal and the Wrexham Ultras started their version of, "Oh, Jenny, do you know what it means to have a Geordie striker and all that palaver?" And her song, her granddad started to tear up a little bit, which was quite a nice little moment. Because I don't know whether she didn't have a song at Newcastle or what.
Don't know. Difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, it must have been difficult for her being a Geordie playing for Newcastle because that's an immense amount of pressure, to say the least. Second half, then 48 minutes. Wrexham didn't waste much time. Mahmood gets the ball on the edge of the box, spins, it hits the shot that bounces through the Ponty keeper. Daz, is it the shot that makes that goal, or does the keeper have a little bit of a nightmare and kind of try and deal with it, and it just bounces off her and goes in?
It's a good shot. It's not the best shot in the world. And I think she's seen it for quite a while. So my feeling is this is a genuine goalkeeper error. Really, should have followed it better. Moved the feet, got behind it a bit more, because again, she's like, what's she, 20, 25 yards out, no real defenders blocking the line of sight, maybe one, but it comes out from behind the goalkeeper.
It's a lovely take and turn. It's a lovely take and turn, though. It's, the skill is in taking this high ball, bringing it down quickly, turning with the space, and then hitting it. For me,
but you're right. But she's done it quite a few times. So first of all, this is in her locker. If you've been watching her games, this is not the first time she's scored from that range. But this one didn't feel like it had the venom. It didn't have the zip that you'd think like that's a screamer. It was a well struck, lofted. From 25 yards. It's not top corner or anything like that. It's at waist height, and the goalkeeper gets hands to it, and that's. Goalkeeping sin really is not to get your body behind the ball or properly palming it around the post, and so if you can't do those basics, I regrettably that's a proper goal. That's down on the goalkeeper all the way for me.
Well, 52 minutes and what's that?
Go on.
She had biscuit wrists.
Biscuit wrists. Crisp packet hands. That's what she had. 52 minutes. These are my notes. This is what I've written in the notes. A Daz shot by Idenden. Long range in the top section of the goal. Out of reach for the Ponty keeper. I mean, you perfectly described this goal last week, Daz. You said in your comments of the game against TNS, what players are doing are they're taking long range shots. They're aiming for that top part of the goal because they know that keepers are struggling to get any power of stopping a goal coming in at that height. Wrong or right?
No, correct. I did say that. I mean, I'm a very, very clever man, and I'm, my wisdom precedes reality. I mean,
absolutely,
but it is exactly that though, and there are plenty of occasions where if you see it going into the top corners, and this is men's game, women's game, kids' games, whatever, when it goes into a top corner, there's something beautiful about that anyway, from an attacking point of view. As a fan, you see that going in. If you're an opponent, you just, you concede, oh, well done. You got it in the one place where you're trying to hit it, and therefore it's supposed to be hard for the goalkeeper to get it. That is part of the game. That's the challenge of being a world-class goalkeeper. The issue I have with a lot of the games that we're seeing here at the moment at this level is that they're even getting them in the center. It's just literally just coming in under the post. This wasn't, again, no venom, no zip on that strike. It was a lovely lofted. It was the edge of the box, slightly to the side on the right wing, just ever so slightly. So she's taken the ball, plenty of time, nobody closing her down. I mean, you can, as a goalkeeper, she should be absolutely screaming at all of her defense for that. The errors are all over the place. But as soon as Eden has taken that decision to loft it, and you can see it's going in all the way, the goalkeeper cannot get to that top edge, and it's any ball that's going in just underneath the post is going to be a goal scored. And she's not the only one. I don't want to pick on Pontypridd goalkeeper alone.
No.
But Lizzie Craven is as guilty as any of them. There's something about the size, stature, and agility of a lot of these goalkeepers who are going to struggle to reach those extremities, and it is not the lack of will or want or ability to react. It's just they physically aren't reaching them, and I don't know what you do about that. Whether it's there's an element of agility, I think, about some of the goalkeepers. I do think some of the goalkeepers.
Okay, so let's get controversial, right? There has been some talk over the last couple of years of saying, should the goals in the women's game be a different size?
No.
Now you see, depending on how you look at it, some might say, well, yes, because then you take away there's a more physical presence, but because men are usually bigger in stature than women, so therefore by reducing the size of the goals, you are giving the women goalkeepers a better chance, but you are then creating two forms of the game. So I'm going to let you have open floor on this. Daz, I think, has just made his feelings plain, but you can articulate on that, Daz, and then we'll ask Matt.
Yeah. No, I think the beauty of the game is that it's the same wherever you go, and I still think that about the kids as well, because you can say that when you're watching, under 13s or something like that. Again, there are a lot of goalkeepers who aren't that size in stature, but the one thing that they have, and this is where I was about to go earlier, and I am gonna hate myself for it, but there are a lot of players playing the goalkeeping position that don't have the agility and the athleticism that I just think it's an insult to goalkeeping that it's always when we were in school, it was always the last kid who didn't get picked at that just got to go in goal.
That was me. That was me, by the way. That was me.
And I understand that if you don't have the touch, the skills, the control, then maybe you think, well, I'm pretty good with my hands. That's fine. But I do think it's an insult to the position of goalkeeping that you think that that's all right. You go in goal because it's the least important, or it's the one that doesn't matter so much, because it's such a crucial role. And if you were to put, okay, Iddington scored this, so let's use her Iddington as the example. She's a tall, athletic, appears quite strong, in terms of shoulder to shoulder body contact and stuff. She holds her own, and I wonder if somebody as athletic as she is in goal with a bit of training and strengthening and arms and wrists and all of the things that come with being a good goalkeeper. But I think that her stature would immediately elevate the success rate of I mean, this is a complete arbitrary, but I just think stature and agility, and that is the first part of being the goalkeeper. And yes, I know people will be screaming, but what about people like Neil Southall and people like that, heavy set guys? But he was still big. He had range. He had agility. He had movement. Obviously, in his older age, he got bigger and bigger. But actually, he was a very athletic man.
He was.
I just think that we're starting from a baseline that is quite hard to improve on if we're already saying the smaller, shorter, less agile. Because I love the fact that people want to play the game, and if that's the position they love playing, of course they should play it. But I can't believe there aren't teams that there aren't players out there that could play these positions. But by virtue of the fact that they're not getting found or picked or contracted to the club, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a simple case they can't find them. And again, I don't want to say is Lizzie Craven the best you can find. Well, maybe she is, but I mean, she's great shot stopper. She wants to be involved. I love her endeavour and all of that, but I still think there are elements of her game that if she was just a taller, sort of more agile player, I don't know. It feels like I'm picking on shape and form, and that's not what I want to do. But I just think it's classic positions. You know, there are certain things like in rugby, you have certain positions and weights and sizes that suit certain roles. The basketball, you know, guards, point guards, you know, there are certain things where your stature and your shape is going to give you that advantage. It's not to say that you couldn't do it in any other form, but I just feel you're starting from the baseline's further back for me.
Okay, Matt, your turn. He's tried to make a reasonable assessment of it all. Should the goals in women's football be a different size?
Daz bottled it, didn't he? So back in our day, all those decades ago, goalposts were all the same size, weren't they? And you just had to get on with it, regardless of your age group. But obviously now in youth football, etc., they play in smaller goals. So I think there is definitely a case for that being. If you think about the average height of men is slight. I don't know what the exact stat is. Sure, if you Googled it, you'd get an answer. But on average, we are slightly taller than the women, aren't we? So there is probably a case for it. To be reduced in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. Logistically, that would be a nightmare because how many pitches are there now? So how do you swap the goals? So logistically, it's easier just to leave them as they are. But it does feel. I agree with Daz. It does feel like at the moment. I can't remember the last time I saw a 6 foot female goalkeeper, but maybe I haven't. Maybe me and Daz haven't looked hard enough. But I don't know if you can put that slide in that I put a picture in. Can you see that picture that I've added to your presentation?
Okay. No, but
I just wanted to visualize it. So just because Daz was talking, I wrote a piece on Patreon this week, ironically, Daz, on what I called the windows of opportunity for Wrexham, which we now have a couple of people. We've got a couple of people in Maz and Katie Barker who are and Abby who are proficient strikers of a football, and I was trying to explain to some of the Patreon supporters that these, if we can be proficient and shoot it, I'm not sure if you can see it, Daz. It might be a bit small, but if you can shoot into those windows with where the black rectangles are, including your window or envelope, whatever you want to call it, just underneath the crossbar, it might be a real. You know, if we can be really proficient, that might be really useful for Wrexham because it's really obvious. I'm thinking back to Maz's first goal in week 1. Britain Ferry, I think that was actually quite central. Or did she score 2 that week? But she hit one real thunder twat of a goal that went pretty central. But it looked really good on the telly, but I think it actually went central just under the bar and the keeper couldn't do anything. So I just did that piece to visualize it for people about what we were talking about, basically. So I think there's an argument for it, but it's logistically a nightmare, so it'll probably never happen. So we're just all going to have to get on with it.
I will give you the basketball equivalent of this. The NBA obviously have a set height for their baskets, and the women's game were offered at the top. I mean, we're talking NBA, the highest level of the game in the world. I mean, probably higher than international level of the NBA, isn't it? That they got offered the chance to change the women's game to a lower height, mainly because I think very almost no women dunk, and it's the flamboyant part of the game. They wanted more. You know, all of that. And the women categorically said, do not change the heights for women. We do not want 2 heights. We've always played with the men's height. Means we can play against them and with them at any time when we're training. It's just forget it. And we will just get on with it. And they have improved. There are now a few players who can do it, but they know physiologically, whatever the word is. I nearly didn't get that right. Is that yeah, I didn't do that. I just think they accept those differences, and that's fine. I just feel that this is when it's about 2 people and their qualities mean that one person is exposed in that way. It's different when you're missing the shots and you can't dunk or whatever. That's you against the net. I just think that it's exposing the goalkeepers and it doesn't make them look good, which makes the game look, when anybody who half the battle of trying to convince a certain type of male supporter to come and watch the women's game is, oh, they're not very good. And it's moments like this that actually kind of reinforces the perception that they're not very good, because, oh yeah, well, the goalkeeper could have saved that. And that was me for a long time. I could genuinely really struggled. And I'm talking WSL, watching the absolute top flight game, really. I was going, the world, the Euros, not the one this has been, but before, I was going, they weren't very good. The goalkeeping was terrible. So actually, most of the results were a bit like, unconvincing as a fair result. It was just because goalkeeping errors. And then now it's much better. And I feel like you can have a really entertaining game because it just feels like there's some element of parity. But this league, we know we're not WSL, of course, and if anybody is of any quality, is going to get snapped and paid lots of money and go to the WSL or go to France or go to Belgium or Netherlands, where there's some really good women's leagues. Cymru league's not going to get, well, I don't know what pecking order we're in at the moment, but it's something that probably needs looking at. But for now, this is the situation we got.
I'll put
Can
my
I
two
follow
pennies
up on that
within.
before you go on? Sorry.
Yeah, go on, Matt. Yeah, go.
In week 1, when Maz scored the goal that I'm talking about, that looked like it went, because the camera angles you can't exactly tell, but it was pretty central and it went high and went in. Good hit though. But I think on social media, I'd retweeted perhaps a video clip of that. And just speaking to what Daz is saying about perception of the game and encouraging new fans, all I pretty much got in the comments to my tweet were basically people sending images back of goalkeeper gloves with holes in and things like that, So that speaks exactly to what you were saying, Daz.
I'm going to put my two penneth within. Okay, at the adult level of the game, men, women, it's the same size pitch, the same size ball, should be the same size goals. It shouldn't be for the game to bring itself down to what it would perceive to be a level where it would fit within a certain parameter or a certain version of the game. It should be that the game is the same level for everybody, and people should strive to try and get up to that level. That's the whole point of sport. You try and strive to be something better than you are, not let's bring down the level to a point where we can attain something. And I think it's important that we don't do that. And the size of the goals is a big part of that for me. They're the same size. And yes, there are problems. Yes, there are issues. We see it not just in this game, but in many games in the women's game. But it's not for us to change the shape of the goals. It should be, we should be looking at it and saying, right, so how can we get more physical players? How can we get more skillful players? That's how you develop the game, not by changing the rules. So 90. No, well, as a golfer myself, it's just 4 hours of me basically losing 25 balls in the rough. So yeah, I don't get golf on that. I'll put you. 92 minutes. Defense attempted to clear the ball. It falls to Mahmood, who slams in a fantastic shot to make the final score. Wrexham Women 6, Pontypridd United Women 1. Wrexham finished the week joint top of the league with Cardiff on 9 points. Let's ask you the question I was going to ask you earlier. Pontypridd United, we've given them their only goal they've had this season. They've been resoundingly beaten, although they're not bottom. I'm not quite sure how that works. What kind of a season are they looking at already? Thinking, yeah, we're going down.
No, I think they're probably optimistic that Barry, Aberystwyth, and maybe and probably nobody else. But
I mean, I'm only asking you because this was Aberystwyth last year. Aberystwyth started and they were absolutely being pummeled. It was only the fact that they managed to start putting together results to start to then climb out of that and drop Cardiff Met into it. So Aberystwyth have been there and they managed to do it.
No, I think Cardiff Met were always weak, and Aberystwyth crucially beat Cardiff Met in their head-to-heads, and that gave them the space between them. Really, I think Pontypridd are clearly not in the same league as Wrexham, Cardiff, Swansea. I would say that they're not going to be in the same league as TNS and Llansamfraid, not Llansamfraid, Llansamfraid, and Aberystwyth hopefully will prove to be up there as well, because they started well, but the resources are going to be challenging for them. So it is going to be between them and Barry. I just can't see them achieving more than being the bottom two, those two teams. Now, whether or not Pontypridd think they're the ones that are going to get relegated, no, I think they probably think that they've got a chance of at least competing Barry and holding their own and staying up. I think it will be scraping between those two, whichever one that, because I think in our predictions, did two of us go for Ponty and one of us go for Barry, or did we all go for Ponty? I can't remember.
I don't remember without looking into it. Oh, hang on, I've got the sheet here. I can tell you in a minute. Keep talking, and I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. Whereas, I think they're going to be, if they knew coming up from the previous division into this group, they knew they were up against it. So you've got to think that you can go into this tournament. Otherwise, what's the point? You've got to have some sort of ambition. You've got to have some desire to want to try and compete with the best. And a good game against a good portion of the game against Wrexham showed that they can potentially, but they can't sustain it, and they can't hold against an attacking force like Wrexham and Cardiff and teams like that. They're not going to be able to hold out against. It was relentless in the end. It was just wave after wave. But I thought they showed potentially why they'd achieved success last year, but the opposition is just another level, and they're going to get found out.
Me and you said Ponty, Jimbo said ABBA. That's what it was.
Oh, ABBA. Oh,
yeah.
No wonder I wiped it out of my mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Matt, it's a weird one, this, right? Because I watched this, and obviously I was pleased after last week and the defeat to TNS, which was a bit of an anathema. I think, like you said, rightly said, Jenny Sugarman was tinkering a little bit, and I think that threw things off. I don't know what it was in TNS. You happened to hit a heat spot. I don't know what it is. But even after this, I thought, do you know what? I don't feel we've seen the best Wrexham yet. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Sorry to interrupt you at the end there. I thoroughly agree. This time last week, wasn't it? I called for Abby Iddenden or Rosie to start up front. I think that made a massive difference to having somebody who could hold the ball up more naturally. And I think I said Abby's got a bit of magic in her feet as well, if you need that, which she showed, to be fair. So I think all that already has made us possibly a better side. And they'll get better the more they play together. So even though we're early days, they'll tighten up at the back and things will come good for them, won't it? So I still think there's probably another 2 gears in this Wrexham side, I think.
I mean, it seems a little bit selfish of me to say you beat a team 6-1 and you still don't feel that they're doing their best, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That's how it felt to me.
Lots of wasted chances. I think that's what you're probably referring to, isn't there?
Absolutely.
On another day, they could have scored 10. I was devastated when Maz scored because I predicted 5-1 this time last week, and obviously when Maz scored in the 94th minute, I could have murdered her because I had the message ready to send you.
We were all too conservative last week, I think you'll find, which is incredible. But I think we'd had our fingers burnt versus TNS, so I think that's probably why. But well done to the women. Great result. Onwards and upwards. Tuesday then, we all picked up camp and sauntered off to the Midlands, where we played Leicester City at the King Power Stadium. No changes from the game versus Derby County. Matt, any surprises there? The fact there was no changes, or are you kind of thinking, this is the right side to go up against Leicester away?
No, I think I was probably hoping that this was the side that got picked. But I did think that because Phil Parkinson had given some interviews and sort of said, well, we've got a couple of knocks. And then with having a game on Friday as well, I did wonder whether a couple of players would be changed. I thought Kabori would be one because obviously he'd gone off in the second half of that other game. And then I did wonder whether Ben Sheaf could start, because they're managing his minutes as well, I think. So I did wonder whether it was going to be him starting or not, but it proved to be that obviously he just rocked out the same 11.
So, as we were expecting, Leicester were very, very dominant. You can see by the stats that Leicester had nearly 68% of the ball, but they didn't do anything with it. It's almost like they wanted to keep the ball, but just pass it around and try and fox us, ha ha ha, with very little, thank you very much, very little to show for it. I mean, we had the lights and fire show at the start, so that's what your parachute payment money gets you. It gets you a light show and flames, because that's the only time we've seen them so far this season. They tried to dominate, and they had a lot of possession, but did very little. In fact, very little with it. In fact, 6 minutes, Matt, Kabore from the right, which again, we won't talk so much about him because we talked about him in the Derby game. But again, he was that same threat to the point where they doubled up on him as when they realised that he was a massive threat. But he came to the right and more in the box, couldn't quite get the shot on target. But that was 6 minutes in. I mean, were you surprised that so early we were kind of putting the threat on them?
Surprised. I mean, I was hopeful that we were going to be able to give them a bit of a threat. But I guess what we didn't know is how would Kabore do up against Leicester? Because obviously in the wide areas they're blessed with pace, but the wide forwards will always come and double up and help the fullback. So it was great to see that he was getting success and that he continued to get success. And it was a really difficult, when you watch it back, it's a really difficult chance for Kiefer Moore, to be fair. The angle gets closed down for him, and there's a covering defender on the goal line. So he probably can't ever score that goal. But it gave us some hope, didn't it?
I mean, well, 2 minutes later, Decador Reed hits the post, so they nearly go in the lead on that. I mean, Daz, we have to remember in this that this is Leicester City, who sold £56 million of the players in the summer, and they still have a squad which is worth in excess of £300 million.
You're right.
Were you surprised from what you saw? Not wanting to jump ahead, but were you surprised that they weren't a bit more dangerous up front?
I think the key thing you said is that they sold 56 worth of players, and I think that a lot of that threat was wrapped up in that 56 million. It feels, because a lot of good players, as much as it's good money, and as a championship side, you often have to sort of cut your cloth to within the manage your club differently, because it's a different division, and you get parachute payments, but I think a lot of clubs will always readdress the books to at least balance a little bit more. So I do think that I'm not surprised, but I'm not going to say they were completely hopeless last year, but they're not the best example of a Premier League side in recent years. So I suppose the bench, the benchmark was whatever the word is I'm looking for, but it's lower at this from this point of view, from being a Prem. They've got history, they've got pedigree and all of that, but I don't think they were the full side of Premier. They say they weren't firing on all cylinders in that way, but they're still the team that I predicted to do well this year. They're still a team that everybody knows has all the potential. You still got a lot of players there that were playing in the Premier League. So this is it's not a wholesale shift and everybody's weaker now because you've lost some key players. And it says a lot about Wrexham and what they've managed to do to be able to step up and compete. I'm amazed that Wrexham were able to step up in this way at a ground like this, in the sense that it's a famous stadium. It's got a good fan base, and it's something about Wrexham away at the moment is that they're stepping up. So I think it's a match between Wrexham achieving at least potentially at a not meeting their capacity, their potential, but certainly Leicester were tested and given a really good run. So I think the fact that they had a lot of the possession. We've seen lots of teams this year though with lots of possession and still not got the goals. So but the fact is they they need to have a more potent finisher because even their goal scorer, we haven't come on to that yet, isn't a striker. So there's clearly something not quite right with their front line.
Yeah, definitely. 17 minutes, Matt. O'Brien latches onto a very poor back pass by Chowdhury, one-on-one with the keeper, and tries to flick the ball in. At the time, I was livid. I was absolutely screaming, saying, listen, at this level, you've got to get him on target at least. But when I've watched it back, in hindsight, it's like that was such a difficult thing to control. I mean, what was your...
His wrong foot.
He was. Yes, he was. Yes, and that's exactly what I'm about to ask Matt. So stop reading the script. No, sorry, it's fine. I mean, Matt, he did try and flick it with the wrong foot, didn't he? Is the thing I was about to ask.
So, my belief is he had enough time to definitely strike that with his right foot. He had the time to shift it onto his right foot and bend it round the goalkeeper. But he knows. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Lewis O'Brien to know how bad that right foot is. Is it a swinger? Is it just for standing on or what? So he must know that. So he felt confident that he could do the definitely more difficult skill of clipping it round with the outside of his foot. And I think in the end, he just kind of toes it pretty straight, doesn't he? And it goes wide. So I would have preferred him to have a go with his right foot. But I'm saying that as somebody who's only seen him play... Realistically, only seen him play how many games now? We played 4 or 5 games, whatever it is, that he's played for us. But I think if that was me, I would have been going at that with my. I know it's my weaker foot, but it's a more natural shooting angle and position. So I would have gone at it with my right foot.
Well, Leicester continue to put the pressure on Jordan James and Monga, 16-year-old. I mean, for a 16-year-old kid, he is astoundingly good. I mean, I'd love to have him. I think
he's the youngest ever starter in the Prem, isn't he?
He is. Yes, he is. Yeah. And he is. You could see he's so sharp. His football brain is so sharp, and he is only going to develop into something. I mean, Leicester aren't going to be able to keep hold of him. There's no way in a million years, because Liverpool will look at him and go, "Yeah, we'll have him." I'm sure they will, Des, because he absolutely would fit beautifully into the Liverpool system. I mean, particularly after this week and the Galatasaray. I mean, we won't talk about that. Won't talk about that. Sorry, mate. Obviously, though, 35 minutes, some quick touch passing. Wrexham couldn't cope with. Finishing off with, of all people, the one person on the entire pitch I did not want to score was Jordan James, and not my best moment, because later on in the game he came and took a corner right in front of the Wrexham fans, and obviously we were giving him dogs abuse, to which at one point I shouted at the top of my lungs, "You fucking traitor!" To which he looked back and looked very disappointed. Yeah, not my best moment. And when he's playing for Wales next week, it will be completely different. I'm sorry, Jordan. I apologise. I was caught up in the moment, but there you go. Daz, but it was some great one-touch passing. Pretty much just passed it through the Wrexham defence. They couldn't cope. Question being, and you know I'm going to ask you this. I can't got a hand on it. Should he have saved it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, it's just, you're right. The build-up play was slick. You know, it's come from virtually the halfway line in 3 passes, or ping, 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 and I love the fact that it was Jordan that first of all, 1-2, started off the move with the first pass. He then runs into plenty of space. I mean, it's questionable that why is there nobody tracking him? How did he get away with it? I know it's hard to pick up runners from midfield, when they overlapped the forwards, but it just seemed like there was acres of room there for him to run into. And then he latches onto the ball, doesn't take it first time. He has the audacity to take a couple of touches, and then tries to side foot it into the net, but like near the post, and it's not actually that. It's not that even close to being in the corner. It's really, it's a couple of feet in, so it's even easier for the goalkeeper to save. He gets a hand to it. Nowhere near enough strength on it, considering the pace. It was past. It wasn't a bullet of a strike, and that I feel he's going to be really, really disappointed in himself with that one. And he doesn't need me to tell him that.
Well, Wrexham, Leicester continued to put on the pressure, but again, couldn't seem to do anything with it, even though they were 1-0 up. Wrexham, however, and this is the first time I think, and Matt, please tell me if I'm wrong, that the subs coming on, unlike the Southampton game at the beginning of the season, actually made a massive difference. McLean come on for Longman. Matty James came on for Sheaf, returning obviously to Leicester, from which he's played for before. Barney came on for Kabore, and obviously Broadhead came on as well to replace Windass. And I thought that the level, when those subs came on, Wrexham's level actually picked up. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. A couple of things. One, you've got some fresh legs, haven't you? So that obviously helps. You've got some players who are keen to make an impression, so they were engaged in coming onto the pitch. And we were still in the game. The key to it for me was that we just stayed in the game. That's what I was saying to my lad who was with me. Let's just stay in this game. Don't give him a second goal. And I thought, interestingly, the two players I was worried about, which were James McLean coming on at fullback against their pacey wide players, and Matty James, again, who's obviously advancing in years and not as mobile as he used to be. But actually, Matty James, I thought, was key because he just settled us down and he enabled us to keep the ball for a couple of passes more than we had been able to. And that was fundamental, especially towards the end when they were coming at us a little bit more, not trying to get too far ahead. But the fact that we could string 3 or 4 passes together that were useful, I think you're right. I think it was game-changing substitutions.
Well, it was great. 76 minutes. O'Brien muscles the ball away from Vestergaard in the far corner, puts the ball into the box. Broadhead, who came on, perfect run into the space, smashes it into the net. Wrexham fans in the corner, myself and Matt included, go absolutely bananas. Leicester fans don't know what hit them because they were pretty much silent for most of the game anyway, and they were even more silent after we scored. They then started to throw the kitchen sink at us. We hung on, which was brilliant, and the game finished 1-1. Boos at the end from the Leicester fans, to say the least. Wrexham finished the week 15th in the league with 9 points. And two facts: unbeaten now in 4 games, and the only championship side to score in every game we've played. So, first a question for Daz, then a question for Matt. Daz, on that Wrexham goal, who makes it? Is it O'Brien stealing the ball from Vestergaard and keeping it live and muscling this massive guy off? Or is it Broadhead seeing the space, running into the ball that O'Brien puts into a beautiful spot and smashing it in on target? What makes the goal for you?
Oh, it's O'Brien all the way for me, because there's no right that it doesn't matter how many times Broadhead runs into that space. That ball should not be making its way into the box. Absolutely basic defending, and yet he's probably one of the smallest players on the pitch against the tallest player. He was a unit. He was an absolute unit, and yet tries to use a bit of his muscle to probably because that's how he plays. He's a big guy. He probably plays and uses his strength, and for him to be completely sort of stumbled, he bounces off O'Brien, shows incredible strength, and checks his run enough that the player's momentum just keeps carrying on, and yes, he looks up, he sees the players, and there's Kiefer's in the middle if he wants him, but Broadhead's running onto the edge of the box, and it's the perfect pass, nicely weighted, because there are 2 defenders closing Broadhead down, but it's that cross from O'Brien, which he has no right to put in there for me. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Matt, the stunned silence of the Leicester fans. I love that picture, by the way, in the top left. It looks like it could be in a romantic film, couldn't it? Where Broadhead's holding, keeper's holding Broadhead in this kind of romantic pose. Broadhead is the question for you. Lots of people have been saying, "How have we spent so much money?" Lots of people getting on his back. Didn't make a particularly decent start. Then got injured, then came back from injury. You've read it, I've read it. All the people were having a go at him. Then he knocks a couple of goals in, and now he's starting to score a bit more for fun. I mean, are we now going to start to see the Broadhead that Ipswich Town fans have said, yeah, this is the guy we're going to miss?
Yeah, he hasn't just become a bad player because he's moved I don't know how many miles north from Ipswich. So he was really, so the sensible Ipswich fans were telling us he'd been a game changer for them previously, but probably the Premier League was too much for him, and his impact diminished, didn't it? So I think he's right at home in this league. He knows it really well. He obviously knows Wrexham very well. So once he settles down, I think he's going to be a real asset. It wouldn't surprise me, given seeing that obviously Windas's injuries. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see if he starts on Friday without getting too far ahead. So yeah, I'm excited. You can't expect somebody to uproot, move from one club to another, potentially move house, and then just expect them to be magic from day one. Some players can do that. Some players it takes a matter of weeks, and others it takes a matter of months, doesn't it? And some of them, in the old days, they used to say you'd have to give a foreign player coming over here. They used to say give them a year. So it's gonna take him a bit of time, but he will be a bit like Ollie Rathbone is the classic comparison from last year, isn't it? We were wondering what we had, and then he became our best player. So don't be surprised if Broadhead becomes a very important player for us.
The photo's there, by the way. Whenever I look at that top left photo, the theme from Titanic is just playing through my head. I don't know why that is. It's really weird. And the one bottom left. Exactly. The one bottom left, there's a big fat Welsh techie in the middle of the picture. And then off down to the bottom left of that corner there with the white hair, there's Bryn Law. Bryn Law was a couple of rows in front of me. So I had a good.
Oh, he's going to be sitting next to me in the Oxford game. He's had a ticket off us.
Oh, there we are then. Well, you can have a. He was absolutely delighted by the end. He was properly delighted by the result. Last thing, Matt. So we've played Southampton at Southampton. Yeah. We took them on. We almost won. We've gone to Leicester at Leicester.
Yeah,
we've took them on, and we came away with a draw. Is this going to shut up all the people who say that Wrexham shouldn't be at this level?
It'll shut them up until there's another bad result. They're not going to go away, are they? Let's be honest. Well, certainly for the first half of the season, they're probably not going to go away, because I think we're going to have to. We might have to scratch and crawl our way up the table a little bit to start with while we acclimatise. That's just my opinion. I appreciate some people think we're going to be a front runner and getting in the promotion playoff places very easily, but I think it's just going to take us a little bit of time. So I don't think they'll go away. And every time Phil Parkinson has a 2 or 3 perhaps bad game run, they'll probably pip their head out above the parapet again as well, won't they? So no, it'll keep them quiet for now, but I suspect they're lying in waiting.
In the best team in Wales stakes, Swansea are doing fairly well at the moment. Who's going to do it? Who's going to end the end of the season and be the best team in Wales?
You may not want me to say it, but
no, I don't. So don't say it. No, I'm joking.
But it should be Cardiff.
Whoa!
You gotta love it. No, I mean, of course. I mean, they're playing some wonderful football, and they're in a league where that doesn't really matter. You just need to get out of there. So I think when they rejoin, that's going to make there's going to be quite interesting. The Swansea are clearly the team with the pedigree that's been a higher division for
They've
a lot
arguably
longer.
got the best goal scorer in this league at the moment, without a shadow of a doubt, whose name I can never pronounce.
And they're gonna absolutely they're gonna push for I think that they're already pushing for the playoffs positions, early as it might be, but they're already on 12 points, Middlesbrough at the top at 18. Wow. So it's they're in contention with a lot of teams for those playoff places. So early days, but they've started well. But they are the team. They should be higher up the table than yourselves because of the pedigree they've come from or where they've been for so long. But it's hard to tell where Wrexham will ultimately land because you guys have just said it yourselves. It's taking time to gel, but bond, get that team, working at its full capacity, and you never know, it might impress, and Swansea might have peaked, So I think Swansea should be claiming that, but let's see what the season brings.
I mean, it's the one thing, isn't it, Matt, at the moment with the Championship? You look at the table at the moment, everybody's beating everybody else. Nobody, even Middlesbrough, who were starting to run away with it, they're now starting to get pulled back into the mix. I mean, it shows how competitive the Championship actually is this year.
Yeah, it's. I think last year as well, it was very condensed, and a couple of good results can bounce you up 6 to 10 places. Bizarre. You wouldn't have that in most other leagues because of that. But I think I just want people to remember. It's something I have to remind myself sometimes. But people got excited because we spent 30 whatever million this summer. We spent 30 million and we replaced half our squad. So these teams have been in the Championship, like Swansea. Let's use Swansea as an example. I know it's bitter to talk about, but they're an established Championship side. So over the years, they've got a squad of 24, 25 players who are arguably good enough for this level, whereas Wrexham have got 13 to 15 that we are confident are, and we've got another 10 that we need to understand whether they are, don't we? It's too early to tell. So I just think we just need to remind ourselves of that sometimes, that this is going to be tough for us this season, and we're not going to have it all our own way.
And now it's time for the away day footy scran review.
Well, here we are from a very noisy concourse here at the King Power Stadium. Of course, it is an away day footy scran review, and tonight it's the classic football pucker steak pie with cellophane wrapping included. Yeah, I'm not holding out much hope, to be honest. So I'm going to polish this off, and I'll tell you after this break how it was. So, how was the pie? You're asking yourself. Well, it was hot, bit my tongue, nice, and it was fairly messy because I'm wearing most of it. It was a pucker pie. Not amazing. They're processed to shit. Six fryers out of 10. 6 fryers out of 10. A noisy stadium, 1-0 down. We've been okay, but big second half hopefully to come up the town. £5. £5 for that pie. It's more. The more I go to places this season and try their food, the more I think, do you know what? The stuff you get at Wrexham isn't actually that bad. Because that £5, it was £5 for that and £3.80 for a bottle of pop. So £8.80 was just.
I thought you were saying the £5 for the pie and £3.80 just to have it microwaved. I thought you were about to say.
It would have been better freezing. It would have been better freezing cold because I wouldn't have thought like that all the way through the game because I burnt my tongue on it. Did you have anything to eat on Tuesday, Matt?
So I took my own, but normally I don't. I was going to ask you about pies. I was going to pose the question if you've ever had a Pied Piper pie yet from Phil in the Butcher's Market, because they have them on the bus I was on, which was am I allowed to give them a shout out? The MH Travel bus that I was on.
Do it. Yeah.
They had pies from Phil, the Pied Piper, and I would normally have paid £3 for a steak and Wrexham lager pie that is out of this world.
Yeah.
And if you go to Phil on a match day and have a pie meal, you get peas, chips, gravy, or you can have mash if you don't want chips, and a pie, lovely and warm for £8. So it is, it's a bit of a farce. It's Premier League prices, isn't it?
I didn't want to eat in the ground because they'd already ripped us off for the price of the ticket. And I was like, I didn't want to spend anything in the ground. But because getting into Leicester was so difficult, just as hard as getting out of Leicester, because the traffic was appalling. By the time I got in there, I had about 10 minutes before the game started and I was starving because I'd not stopped. So I was like, do you know what? I need something. And I thought at least there'd be something a little bit, because they're ex-Premier League, I thought there'll be something a bit decent at least. I was so disappointed because there was that and another pucker pie and then one of those rollover crappy sausage rolls, which have probably got dog in them. That's what they call hot dogs. It was just rubbish. and Daz, Cardi Head, £5. £5 for a pie.
They're not even trying to hide the fact that it's just something you can buy in the supermarket and put in the microwave.
No.
So I mean,
No.
it's shocking. It's shocking.
Disgusting. Anyway, more footy, Fran, next week. Well, it won't be next week now, will it be? Because I got a Stoke ticket. You got to Stoke, Matt?
Yeah, we've got tickets. Yeah, so we'll be going. Fine.
So yeah, I'm going to Stoke. So I'll find somewhere nice because I'm going a bit earlier. So yeah, so I'm not eating a processed pie again. I had the shit afterwards. Now on the Eat More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham under-18s played at home versus Grimsby Town under-18s, who are the league leaders, and drew 0-0. Decent result there for Wrexham under-18s. Next game is at home to Mansfield Town under-18s on the 18th of October. Wrexham under-17s played Huddersfield under-17s on Tuesday in the under-17s Professional Development League Cup and drew 2-2. That puts them top of Group K on goal difference. Last group game will be versus Shrewsbury Town under-17s on 22nd of October. They just don't need to lose that game. As long as they get a draw or a win, then they should be through to the knockout stages. Next game for the under-18s in total, though, not in the league, is on 4th of October, so this Saturday, away at, we've just spoken about them, Swansea City under-18s in the under-18 Professional Development League Cup, which is a completely different competition. I can't believe they've got an under-17s Professional League World Cup and an under-18s Professional Development League Cup. There you go. That's good. Also on Friday night, Wrexham Women under-19 started this year's Adran North under-19s campaign, and they lost 4-2 to Connors Key Nomads. Wrexham goals scored right at the end of the first half by Grace Morris and Bella Riley. Matt, haven't really spoken about the women's under-19s, but they've been massively successful in the leagues, winning the league twice in 3 years. Not a fantastic start. Do you think kind of Jenny Sugarman, now she's in charge of the seniors, will be working closely with Gaz Owen to sort of say, okay, listen, this is the kind of players I need, this is the kind of system I need? Or do you think Gaz Owen will be given autonomy to just play the way he wants to play?
I mean, the modern way of sort of handling that situation now is you try and get consistency across your youth age groups, don't you? And you have an identity as a club, and whoever comes in, normally now they call them head coaches rather than managers. They have to sort of fall in line with that, don't they? So I would love to think that they would do that, but I've not read or heard anything, so I'll be fascinated to find out what the situation is. I mean, Gaz has done a really good job with them, didn't he? You know, I know he was one of the names I floated to you. I was like, it'd be great if we could somehow tempt him to take the women's job, but obviously. He's got other commitments, and obviously Jenny Sugarman's coming anyway. So I think it'll be really interesting. Although Jenny did have some of the youngsters on the bench this week. I know he didn't quite. Izzy Barnett was on the bench. Leah Burke, Neve Adams. I think he's only young. I'm not sure if I've missed anybody. I can't remember, but she had 3 or 4 players involved and got minutes into some of them, which was really good as well.
Which is what you want, isn't it? Cymru have recalled captain Aaron Ramsey for October's World Cup qualifier against Belgium and the friendly versus England, according to the BBC Wales Sports website. You can shut off for a bit, Matt, if you want, because I know you probably want to talk about this. The 34-year-old midfielder was omitted from the squad against 4 matches against Kazakhstan and Canada earlier this month, having only made 1 substitute appearance in 6 months as he recovered from injury. But Aaron Ramsey has since started 3 games and played in another 2 from the bench for his Mexican club side Pumas UNAM. Cymru are able to welcome back Leeds pair Ethan Ampadu and Joe Roden, Coventry City defender Jay De Silva, and of course Wrexham forwards Nathan Broadhead, as well as obviously Kiefer Moore will be there as well, after they all missed the Kazakhstan game versus Canada fixtures because of injury. Leeds winger Dan James is included, despite reports of a knee injury, although that sounds a lot more serious now if you look at the media. Cymru awaiting an assessment from his club side. Cymru face England in a friendly at Wembley on Thursday, 9th of October, before hosting Belgium in that all-important vital World Cup qualifier at the Cardiff City Stadium the following Monday. Cymru still have a chance of qualifying automatically for the 2026 World Cup, but sitting third in Group J, they need other results to go their way. Whoever finishes top automatically qualifies for the finals, while the runners-up book a place in the 16-team playoffs in March. If they want to qualify automatically, they'll need to win all 3 of the remaining matches and hope that Belgium drop points more than once, and not only in Cardiff. So, Daz, Aaron Ramsey first. A lot of people are saying he's had his time. Why are we calling him back? You listen to Bellamy saying, listen, the football brain is always there. Maybe physically he's not the same guy, but he has the players around him to support him. He's going to be a vital part of the squad. Discuss.
He's a coach of the future. I definitely think he's going to be a manager of the national side at some point in the future. He's got so much experience. He is literally the last remaining true core of that successful team. I suppose Danny Ward is as well, but he's out. But funny
enough, I was going through my Euro 2016 sticker book today. Funny enough, and I was looking at all the players playing. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
So because I think it's pretty much him and Ben, isn't it? And then Danny Ward was there as well. But what he brings, of course, is world class. He's lived it. He's been at Arsenal. He's been at Juve. He's been to major tournaments. There's no reason why he shouldn't be around the squad. Whether or not he should be taking up a valuable place, whether or not he'll actually get game time and play. I would be amazed if he's not going to start. I can't see him starting. I don't actually see him in the team unless something goes wrong, injuries, or we're really struggling, and you've got to try something different. But I don't see a place for him at the moment. You're right in the sense the call to say he's had his time. He's still playing. So if he's still playing, I don't know enough about Mexican football to know what that means. And I think that's
how do they play with those big floppy hats? Does that get in their way? Stereotypes, everybody, stereotypes.
Yeah, and ponchos for goalposts, exactly. down the. I just don't know enough about the league he's playing in, and so if you're saying, or anybody is saying that he's a class player, his football mind is there, but we know the physicality and the pace that both the Championship and the Prem, but the Championship is still the benchmark for me, is that if you really should be in those top 2 divisions if you want to be considered in this international football at that level. I think it's just the minimum. And yes, there are other divisions around Europe where you could say, are they comparable to Championship? But I just think that the team have begun to evolve without him. They've moved on, and those natural leaders that are on the pitch. What happens to Wilson? What happens to Ampadu? What happens to Rodon when then he comes back? Rambo's there, and they're going to go, right? Are you now in charge? Do I not take that certain? I do think there should be more than one leader on a pitch at all times, and there should be lots of voices throughout there. So, it's not to say it's an exclusive role, but it's confusing. But having him around the squad, I think, has huge benefits. I just don't see him being part of the team anymore, unfortunately.
Ampadu, Rodon, De Silva, Broadhead, all back. James, I think, is a lot more serious because depending on who you read, he might be out for the rest of the year. It's that bad an injury. Not just the national side, but it could affect Leeds United as well. How important is it having those 4 back but losing James?
I mean, any players coming back, it's always good. It's just it gives you more options naturally. But those particular players, I mean, we've missed Ampadu. That calm head in the middle, whether it's the middle of the back 4 when we've needed him to be, or where he sits in front of the defence. It takes the pressure away then from other players who need to be more aggressive, more attacking. You've got that stability at the back. Rodon is a monster when he's on his top game. He's important. So yeah, getting all of those players back. James, I think we'll miss him. Of course, he's a good option, but we've got other players that can play the wings, play the flanks. And Sorber's been phenomenal when he's come on for us. Really, he's had a real sort of breakthrough year. But I think we're doing okay for wingers. I think we're doing okay for some decent wide men. I think it's the finish in front of goal. We can't keep relying on Kiefer. That's the key thing. Now, if Broadhead or others like him can get some regular game time and get his eye
Matt,
in.
Can you imagine if a Wrexham player beats Belgium? I think I might wee a little bit. No, more than a little bit, a lot.
No, but it's
particularly
probable,
if he can nobble that Ginger Ponce at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's that as well. I mean, they're a quality side. I mean, which one do you want to talk about in the sense that, I mean, the England game, I do wonder.
I don't want to talk about either of them because we talk about it next week. It's fine. It's just it's more about the players, really.
The only thing I can think about Ramsey is whether or not he gets his farewell game. My only issue is the England game would have made more sense, and so that we get to say one more chance. Because I don't like a player that disappears and never gets that time again. It's nice to be able to celebrate, but unfortunately, it's an away game. If the England game was at home, I think he'd be playing.
Oh yeah.
But because it's an away game, I'm not sure it's the fanfare. The swan song that we want him to have.
The problem is, Daz, it's a friendly, but we know it's not a friendly. There's never ever a friendly against England.
I know. But he's not going to play in for the swan song in the game against Belgium at home.
No, because he'll want to win. Because Bellamy, as he said, he hates losing more than he likes winning. So he will be going for this. I have no doubt. But we'll talk about that next week. And Matt, you're not going to be here, so you hate international football anyway, don't you? So you don't care, do you?
2-0 England.
Whoa! Change the fat and nuke the £5 pies. Yes, it's time for the chip shop. Daz is flying solo this week, although Matt is holding his scoop for him. Don't look at the pictures, for goodness sake, otherwise you probably you won't want to see him. But until Daz sobers up, Matt will be there helping with a helping hand. Let's unfortunately look at the chip shop table this week, Daz, because somebody scored a bullseye calling Leicester City versus Wrexham 1-1, and that bullseye has pushed him out further at the top of the table. Can't believe it.
Right.
I know. It's early in the season and all this kind of stuff. I know. I'm aware of that from that point of view. But still, it's galling because I know he's never going to shut up about it. So first into the fryer tonight. It's Birmingham City. Well, we're well aware of Birmingham City after our games with them last season. They were obviously relegated from the Championship in the 23-24 season, and last year in League One spent big and dominated the league, winning it with 34 wins, 9 draws, and only 3 losses. A goal difference, until I actually looked at this, I didn't realise how many it was. Plus 53. Goal difference of plus 53. 111 points, 19 points ahead of Wrexham, obviously in second. Summer transfer this season, with the sales that they've made, they've actually did a net spend of only £3.5 million. Big signings were Kyogo Furuhashi. How do you say that, Matt?
Yeah.
Thank you, Furuhashi from Stade Rennais for £8.5 million, and Marvin Duksch from Werder Bremen for £1.5 million. So far this season, not the same domination that they had last season, to say the least. Last 5 league results: 2-0 loss away at Leicester City. We dream with them. 1-0 loss away at Stoke City. 1-0 win at home to Swansea City. 3-0 loss away at Coventry City, and a 2-2 draw at home to Sheffield United, with a very, very, very late equaliser to save their blushes. So it's not only us who come up against Sheffield Wednesday and just managed to draw. Last season, obviously, Wrexham, Birmingham met twice. Birmingham beat Wrexham at St Andrews 3-1, and then we drew 1-1 at the Stoke Kairos. And the chips are done. Right, Matt, let's dive straight into it. Chris Davis, is he going to be looking for another job? very, very soon. Because if you look at Birmingham fans, the Blue Noses, they are all absolutely on his back at the moment.
Yeah, so this. I think this is a real interesting subplot this weekend. I think if they'd have lost against Sheffield Wednesday and not got that 99th minute equaliser, I think it was
so late,
which I'm not
so
sure
late.
how that. I don't know how it was so late, or whether it was an injury or whatever. I think because there was already talk of it. So if he would have lost that game and then lost at Wrexham, I think old Tom Wagner would have probably employed Steven Gerrard, would he? He'd have done something daft like that. I think that's the type of thing he does.
What's Wayne Rooney doing?
I believe he's here for the game. I'm told Tom Wagner. He is in the country and he's here for the game. I don't know about the Wrexham contingent, but yeah, they're not happy. They're not creating chances and they've not been scoring a lot of goals up until obviously Sheffield Wednesday. So that's one to watch post the weekend. If we go and slap them 4 or 5-0, he might be in the job centre on Monday morning.
Oh, I think you're probably right. I think you're definitely right. Daz, then Friday night under the lights, our first Friday night game, live on Sky. Big game from the point of view that for everybody else, because they seem to think that there's this massive rivalry between us, which there's not at all. Do you think Birmingham were, as I've said, very, very dominant last season? Will there be a hangover as far as Wrexham is concerned from that? Or do Wrexham now look at this as a wipe the board completely clean and actually last year's results do not matter?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're a different team to last year as well. A completely different team. I mean, literally,
literally
replaced your entire team. So the fact is, that their team last year outperformed everybody in League One, and they're now in a league that's much harder. You just about made it into the Championship and have completely bolstered your team. So the fact is, I think it's more level than it was before. I think the results that Birmingham have posted already have suggested there isn't the unity or the fluidity, the fact that they're not winning anywhere near, they're not getting anywhere near the results, and obviously, the manager's position is in jeopardy is testament of that. So, I think this is probably a good time to beat Birmingham. Certainly at home. I think because you've got this issue with being at home as well. It's not the fortress that you want it to be. You've got a team that's I'm not going to say struggling, because they're still mid-table. They're still doing perfectly fine, but there's just plenty of questions, and then that's enough to get in their heads that maybe it's a good time to meet them. So I think it's going to be quite a close one.
Matt, so Friday night under the lights, I'll be there. Jamie's there. His wife's there. You'll be there. I would imagine it will be a cauldron, because we'll want to bring the atmosphere as we did versus Derby County. And I didn't mention that, but the atmosphere was so much better on Saturday after obviously Parky tried to whip up a bit of enthusiasm amongst the fans, which was great. Are you expecting it to be this kind of, absolutely Wrexham fans up for it because they can smell blood?
I think so. It's interesting. We've not had the big build-up this year, have we? That I certainly haven't seen it. Maybe I'm not watching enough Sky TV.
Apparently, we have, isn't it?
Yeah,
massive rivalry.
But we haven't had any of it, have we? So I think that's fascinating how it's sort of died a death. I wonder if that's just because of where both teams are, rather than anything else. But I think we have to also remember that we're due to be in the middle of a storm as well, aren't we? So I think it's going to be fascinating. I was
going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I forgot what the name of this storm.
Amy.
Amy, yeah.
Amy, is it? Amy. Right. Yeah. Storm Amy. Are we going to have a light show? Can we have a light show? I want a bit of a light show. We got one at Leicester. So I want a light show. And we had one last year against them.
We did. If they want a fire show, you go down to Queen's Park. There'll be loads of cars on fire, so there'll be no problem there. So time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce cork. Now you may not be here in person, but Jamie is rehearsing for Penny for the Guy by dressing up like a tramp. But he has managed to commit himself to camera. So Jamie, what's your prediction for Wrexham versus Birmingham City.
So, Chip Shop League predictions. One of the downsides to not being on the pod this week is that I can't revel in the fact that I'm pretty sure I hit a bullseye again last week with my 1-1 Leicester City prediction. So, you're welcome. You're welcome. But on to this week. So first up, Wrexham, Birmingham City. I'm finally going to a game. Come on, yes. I can take my flop red badge off and say I'm finally going to a game. So yes, very, very much looking forward to getting back to the Kairas. Interesting one, I think. This, we are, great performance against Leicester. Good in spells against Derby last week. From what I saw, it was difficult for me to watch the game, but from what I saw, we. Hang on, I'm just going to kill my cat because he's on my blinds. Get out! Wait! Unbelievable. Yeah, so the few bits I did see against Derby, I thought they were good. They were good, some good spells. Birmingham, I don't seem to be in the best of form at the minute, but obviously we're struggling a little bit to get a win at home as well. So it's an interesting one, this, and there's obviously the rivalry, a bit of the off-field Hollywood bullshit rivalry from last season. I think from a footballing perspective, it's a very different rivalry because although they retained a lot of their players, our team is pretty much completely different, or more or less different to what we faced. What we put in front of them last year, so there's not so much of a huge rivalry there. But I think I am gonna, I'm gonna call that. I think this will be where we'll get our first home league win, but I think it'll be tight. So I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Wrexham win.
Did I just see him slap a pussy live on stream?
Didn't see it.
Okay, fair enough. Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Birmingham City?
I'm glad he mentioned that he hit the bullseye. I didn't think that was going to get enough of a mention this week, so that's okay.
I hate it when he's like...
It's all right. It's all right. We've got time.
I've had years of this. I've had years of this rivalry.
I have similar sentiments in the sense that I think it's going to be a tight game and everything like that, but I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And I'm predicting Wrexham 3, Birmingham City 2. I think it will be high scoring. I think both sides are going to absolutely go against each other, and I think Wrexham will turn it on because the crowd will be behind them. Stansfield apparently may be injured, which would be a benefit if he doesn't start. But I think Wrexham will be doing it. I just think they're a bit leaky at the back, and I think Birmingham will have a lot of firepower up front. So I think Wrexham will do it, but I think, like you, it will be high scoring and a bit close. Matt, even though you're not in the league, you were nearly right with the women last week, so here's your chance to cover yourself in more glory. What's your prediction for Wrexham versus Birmingham City?
Birmingham have only scored 7 goals in 8 games, so they're only going to score 1 goal, and Wrexham are going to score 3. 3-1 home win.
How can we not lose with that kind of positivity? How is that possible? So let's wrap those chips up to keep them wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next is the fly tonight. It's Swansea City Women. So Wrexham Women play Swansea City Women on what will not be a bumpy pitch. In fact, it will be a lovely carpet because they're playing directly at the Swansea.com Stadium, Sunday, 5th of October, kick-off at 2 p.m. Last year, Swansea City were very disappointed to fall into the bottom half of the table for Phase 2, but they did win the plate, which I'm sure they'll be eating their dinner off this week, by coming 5th with 6 wins, 3 draws, 5 losses, goal difference of +3 and 21 points. They also have a new manager this season, Izzy Taylor, from obviously the last season, after their manager left. Last season, Swansea and Wrexham met 4 times in total, twice in the league, once in the semi-finals of the Adran Trophy and once in the knockout round of the Welsh Cup, with Wrexham winning 2 and losing 2. And the chips are done. So, Daz, this new Wrexham, Swansea are definitely a lot more positive and a lot more attacking based on them. I mean, they're at 6 points at the moment, but they're only at 6 points because of that game that was abandoned because of the weather. Strictly speaking, you would imagine they're going to beat Ponty in that. So they're going to be at 9 points. That will be Cardiff, us, and Swansea, all with 9 points at the top. Wrexham are away. We've talked about potential at the back. I mean, what kind of a game are you expecting against Swansea City?
Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. The fact is that the league is skewed, and we said this last week, and I think I'm sensing from the performances I've watched so far that this is a 3-horse race. It's already feeling like the three big clubs are beginning to show their potential. They've all invested, or they've all got the caliber of players that they want. Cardiff turned it on the other day, and looked impressive, even though they've lost a couple of key players. So I still think that it's all they're the ones to watch. I think I think from a classic game, I think this could be quite an interesting one between Swansea and Wrexham, because I just think that if Wrexham can start playing more consistently, they've shown the promise. They've got these excellent players. Yes, there's still some pockets, areas where they probably wish they had a little bit more strength and depth and choice available to them. But I just think they're beginning to show that they can string a good passage of play, and if they can get their finishing right, whether it's Barker, whether it's Isenden, whether it's, we know is a good finisher already. So I just think there's lots of options. So I'm expecting lots of goals. Swansea have shown it too. Just feel that Swansea for me at the moment are just off the pace a little. Yes, they'll beat Pontypridd, but I think it'll be interesting to see what Swansea do against maybe the other teams, that middle pool of teams.
Well, they got pumped by Cardiff last week, didn't they? They weren't even close. I think Cardiff won 3-0 in the end, and
3-0. Yeah,
that says a lot for me. That says a
lot. Yeah, but that's what I mean about the fact that Cardiff are definitely the team that's out there. They are positively, flying now. I think after whatever ropey start they felt they might have had, what was it, 5-0 against Barry the week before, so I just think Cardiff are just already proving themselves to be, another level. But Swansea have got moments of hit and miss, and I think that's the only reason why I think even though Swansea are at home, I do think that there's the potential for an away win for Wrexham, I think.
Matt, as we said, Swansea.com Stadium, so beautiful pitch, so no problems there. We got the monkey off our back last season by beating Swansea City, and convincingly. 4-0 was one of the results last year. We beat Swansea. So that's gone. Obviously, like Birmingham and Wrexham, two very different sides this year compared to last year. Both sides seem to be hitting semi-hot streaks, but not consistently. What do you think that's going to make it a real tussle, or do you think Wrexham can, seize the opportunity and make a statement saying, right, well, it's not just Cardiff who are strong in this league. We're really going to give them a good run for their money?
I think Wrexham are going to have a statement win against the top side. Swansea average 2 goals a game. Wrexham average 4 goals a game. I'm going to go for a 4-2 convincing victory by Wrexham, and they'll kickstart a title challenge.
So if you're listening, Jenny, if you want a copy of this pod to play in the dressing room before the game, I'll gladly send it to you, and we can put it on the big screen. Because if that doesn't get the players up for it, nothing will. So let's wrap this. So then we won't. No, let's. I'm so 4-2 is incredible. Salt, vinegar, and sauce cork is what I was going to say. Daz, what's your score prediction for Swansea City Women versus Wrexham Women?
I'm predicting the Wrexham win, but I'm not quite as confident as Matt. So I'm going to go for Swansea 2, Wrexham 3.
Get in. Back to the madhouse that smells of paint and cat piss by the looks of it. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Swansea City Women versus Wrexham Women?
So next up, we've got the ladies away to Swansea. So again, tough game. This although Swansea have had a couple of unusual results, I think you'd say, for them. They are still a force. and I think they'll continue to improve as the season goes on. I think we are still going through a little bit of a transition with new players and new manager, new system, and everything else. And we've had a good start to the season. The TNS result was a little bit of a blot on the copybook and stuff, but I think we are improving, but I'm not sure whether away from home, I'm not sure whether this is going to be a too soon of a task, if that makes sense. So I think Swansea will probably have a little bit too much for us. I do fancy us to score though, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 Swansea win, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, but 3-1 Swansea win.
Boo!
Yeah,
Boo!
very much.
Boo! How dare he? I'm predicting Swansea 1, Wrexham 2. I think the women are going to win. I think it'll be a bit tighter than 4-2, to be brutally honest. So I was quite shocked by it, because that sounds like quite an open game. But I think the Wrexham will do it. I think Swansea will score first, and I think Wrexham will have to do their same as I saw them against Britain Ferry. They will come back and be confident. I'm like you, Matt, though. I think this might be a signature thing, because if we can go to Swansea and do that, I think then because we play Cardiff the week afterwards at home, so you kind of go into the perfect lead up to that to go, okay, let's dispatch those and make that 3-horse race, Daz. Shoot that one in the head and send it to the glue factory and make it a 2-horse race, because that's exactly what we want. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll be looking back at both these games in next week's pod. So that's it. The end, finally. Thanks very much for watching and listening. Next week, we'll look back, obviously, at the game versus Birmingham City. Really looking forward to that tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night our time, because we're recording it on Thursday, because I think that's going to be quite exciting. And obviously, Wrexham Women versus Swansea City Women. Next week, something that Daz and I are super excited about. We switch to the international break, which I know some people hate, but Cymru will travel to Wembley to take on England in a friendly, before a vital World Cup qualifier at home to Belgium. And obviously, Wrexham Women will take on a test at home, because they will have Cardiff City Women, wherever that may be. It could be at the Globe, it could be at the car park of the Bats, it could be on Acton playing fields. We're just not quite sure where it's going to be. We don't know. It could be anywhere. But they take on Cardiff City Women for the first time this season, which I think is going to be a cracking match. I really do. I think it's going to be a signature match, which is great. Please, obviously, let us know all your comments, questions, all the usual kind of stuff. We've had some lovely comments this week, particularly about you, Matt. Lovely though. No, seriously, everybody has been super kind and saying how great it is to have you on. So thank you very much for filling the seat for Jamie. We really appreciate it. He will be back next week. You'll tell, because there'll be a bad smell about 24 hours before, because that's normally happens. But he will be back next week. So first of all, Matt, thank you very much. Please, obviously, can you promote the Racecourse Ramble pod and all the fantastic work that you do?
Yeah, go on all your social medias and type in Racecourse Ramble and give us a follow for drivel about Wrexham Football Club. And if you want even more Wrexham goodness, then please go and visit the Patreon, because the breakdowns are the highlight probably, but there's the odd written article that I remember, but plenty of videos and audio, advert-free audio of the podcast goes on Patreon for everybody as well. So it's worth it just to not have adverts.
And to be fair, you and Richie are a great double act. Fantastic. And now you've got him a decent camera. It's even better. Rather than him, all that shots of him in the back of his car.
Know. To be honest, I just had to teach him how to turn his phone the right way, which I have asked him previously, and I'm pretty sure that when I asked him, he had his phone sort of, where's my camera? He had his phone like this, which gave us letterboxes. I told him to switch it, and I think he went like that. So they stayed there. So I gave up with him. I was like, it's not worth it, is it? So no, now he's got a phone tripod. He's all right.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for this week. Really appreciate it. Daz, as always, the rock, the stalwart. I know you've been massively busy as well because term has started and you've been elbow deep in all the stuff. No, all the stuff that normally goes with the start of term is what I was going to say. I don't know what you think I was going to say. We nearly met up for a cup of tea the other day, but I had to leave before you messaged me. Sorry about that, mate. I know I messaged you, but I did my thing and then I left college afterwards. So sorry about that. But thank you very much for this week, as always. And the amount of Cardiff City friends I've had messaging me going, so does your wife still work for Wrexham and could you get us tickets? That's all the messages I've been having this week. Me saying no and no are the answers to those two questions. So Daz, thank you very much for this week.
You're welcome, mate.
I'm Boom Welsh Techie as always. Absolute pleasure, as it has been, and it continues to be every week. Please feel free to comment and question. Great to see you all. And of course, as we always say, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back to back promotions. Can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.